Recording.
A very good afternoon to everyone and welcome to my talk. Today I'm going to be talking about whether or not time is real. So what exactly is time? So from the very early ages, time has been observed as a pattern of change from day to day, from season to season to build calendars. And then after that, even more convenient things like watches and sundials existed so that we can tell time more conveniently. But have you thought about it? Like, what exactly is time? So, is time something that physically exists? Or is it something that we just follow that we know in our heads? So at first, the answer is pretty obvious. Time does exist. We see it unfolding around us every single day. However, it's hard to imagine a universe without the concept of time. Everything started getting a bit more complicated when Einstein developed his theory of relativity. So this theory actually tells us that time passes for everyone in the world, but it may not pass at the same rate for some people in special situations. For example, astronauts that travel in space actually experience time differently than us. It is for a fact that they age slower when they are in space, and a comparison was done for twins, one in space and one on Earth. When the twin came back to Earth, he was actually younger than the one on Earth itself. So this proves that Einstein's theory actually was proven true. So Einstein's theory also confirms that time is woven into the very fabric of the universe itself. But with all this science and proof, there was one question that he did not answer and did not resolve. In space, this whole space that we have, we can move in any single direction that we want. However, time can only move in one direction. So what I mean by this is whatever you do every single day, what you plan to do tomorrow or the day after you do it, it can only be put behind us. The past can't go anywhere else but behind us. So in this theory, he was unable to resolve why we can only move one direction in time, but any direction in space, hence space-time. So just an example, a scenario. When water is poured out of a bottle to the floor, we know that the water will hit the surface and eventually spill up and expand over the floor. But what if we actually saw the wet water on the floor going back to the falling state and back into the bottle? We instantly know that time has been reversed and it is flowing in the opposite direction. We instantly know that. This is called the arrow of time. So we live in the universe where water does spill to the floor and does not turn back to a state where it originally was in the bottle. So everything we know about time only determines the direction flowing from the first point to the second point. So if time is such a basic and fundamental theory that everyone knows about, it should have been proven and included in any scientist situation and their research and equations about the universe, right? There have been many equations created by different scientists regarding how time works and what it has to do with our lives in the universe. But they use time differently in every single equation. There was one contender called the Wheeler-DeWitt equation who tried to prove that time isn't real by including none of anything related to time to try to explain how the universe worked. Even though it was not proven, but if it was by some chance proven that an equation about the universe could be made without time itself, would this mean that time actually never existed at all? Could it just be some sort of illusion being generated by our limitations of the way we perceive the universe? We don't know. But maybe that's the wrong way of thinking about it. So instead of thinking about it as a basic fundamental of how things work, let's think about it as an emergent. So an emergent property are things that don't exist individually. They exist as a whole for the universe only when combined into a system. So let's take, for example, something simple, a water molecule, so like H2O. A water molecule itself does not have any wave, does not have any current and tide. But what if you put all the water molecules together and it becomes an ocean? An ocean then has tides, waves, and currents. So emergent things exist as a whole for the system, but individually it never does exist. So a movie creates creates change through time using a series of still images that appear to have a smooth, continuous flow between each image. So if we look at just still images and we flip through them fast enough, our brains actually process that thing is moving. So like how Disney created Mickey Mouse. It's just still images, flipped fast enough so that the brain actually processes the passage of time moving. So we automatically realize something happens, something has happened, and we may even think about what's going to happen next just because of that. Bear in mind that when we look at these still images being flipped fast, these images do not contain any passage of time. They are just still images being shown quickly to us. So this is just about how things are put together in sequence and shown to us. So no individual frame of the movie changes and none of them contains any passage of time. So the movement in the movie is both real and yet there is no movement at all. So could the physics of time be a similar illusion? Could time really be proven to be just a sequence in our heads that we follow systematically all our lives? Well, we'll only know when the time comes. Thank you.